Yeah, so maybe we could just get started by like you can introduce yourself, like where your ancestors came from, who your ancestors are, and I guess where you're living now.
Yeah, gosh. Okay. My name is Becca Nina Doll-Tyler. Tyler's my married name. And my mom is from Ikimajima, which is a small island off of Miyakojima. And I guess we can date back our family roots in Ikima, like on paper, since the 1850s. And I'm sure that it's much longer than that. We just don't have, we don't have it written down. But all of my maternal side of my family is from Ikimajima and has always lived there. I mean, I guess since my grandma's, time, her sisters and siblings moved to Naha, but she ended up staying and working in Ikimajima as she worked on the sugarcane fields. And my grandpa, he was a fisherman. And so, and I guess too, just to add to that, when my grandma, Harumi, she was born actually in Micronesia, what is now, I guess, Micronesia. And my great-grandparents lived there, and I'm not super sure what kind of work they did over there, but they would hop back and forth from Ikema to a small island in Micronesia called Thursday Island. It's not called Thursday Island now. I think it's called Trek, but they would go back and forth. And then right before the war, they lived in Ikema, but then to escape the war, they picked up the family and moved to Taiwan. And by that point, my grandma had 4 other siblings. So it was, my grandma, her siblings, my great-grandparents all living in Taiwan. And after the war was over, they moved back to Ikema. But yeah, and then same, I don't know that much history about my grandpa's side. They all also grew up in Ikema, but I'm not exactly sure, like, past my grandpa and his past. So, yeah.
So your mom is 100% Okinawan?
My mom is 100% Okinawan. Yeah. And
Oh,
yeah, and I'm very white passing. I look very much like my dad. But yeah, she grew up on Ikema and she had 4 siblings. And my mom tells me, she recalls stories when she was growing up, right? They had like an elementary school and a middle school on Ikema, but to go to high school, they would take a boat because at that time there was no bridge connecting Ikimajima to Miyako Island. So they would take a boat in the morning and then in the afternoon to Miyako High School. And then she also, mentions too, when she was growing up, she remembers Yuta, like shaman in Ikema Island. And she's told me this story multiple times. If there was a death on Ikema, whoever died on the island, because it was such a small community, right? Maybe like 800 or so people. So everybody knew each other. If somebody had passed away, the family would call for the Yuta, and the Yuta would recommend what to do, the next step. And so oftentimes she would, and lots of people had, gardens and farms on Ikema and pigs. And so the Yuta would recommend sacrificing a pig in honor of the person who had passed away. And it would oftentimes be like a feast on the beach or like in like the Ikema city central. And it was like, a way to honor and celebrate this life and also kind of like connect with everybody else on the island as a big, huge family. And I think that's really interesting because that's just one generation ago, And then, yeah, when my mom left Ikema after she graduated high school from Miyako, and she moved to Naha and she lived with her 2 older sisters in Naha. And then my mom met my dad on a blind date, and my dad was in the military, which is a very common story. And yeah, that's how they met. Yeah, my dad was stationed in Okinawa in the 80s. So yeah.
why were they in Micronesia and in Taiwan and all those other places?
I think that it had a lot to do with fishing. My grandpa Masami, he was a big fisherman. So I'm pretty sure Ikema was had a big fishing culture. And so I'm betting that my grandma's parents moved to Micronesia for fishing. And then the Taiwan aspect was to escape the war so that they weren't in Okinawa at the time. But yeah, and then when my mom was growing up, my grandpa, I guess for 4 to 5 years, would go to Papua New Guinea and deep sea fish. And he would work on a boat for 9 months out of the year and then come back to Ikema with treasures, not souvenirs from Papua New Guinea to bring back to my mom and her 4 siblings. And yeah, it's pretty interesting, how much they traveled around in that little part of the world.
So I wonder, is there a big Okinawan community in Micronesia? I wonder.
So Micronesia, and it's called something else. It's like the federal states of Micronesia now, but I don't remember exact dates, but back in the day, in the early 1900s, Micronesia was governed by Japan. And so I think that's what the connection was there. So I think a lot of, Okinawan people and Japanese people probably traveled back and forth to Micronesia because of that, colonization of Japan aspect. But now, now it's not governed by Japan, obviously, anymore. I think that changed in the 70s. So yeah. And then there is a huge connection between Ikemajima and a small village in Irabujima. And I can't remember it right now. I guess I could look it up, but Samahara, I can't remember, but there's this tiny village on a different island, not Ikema. That village in Ikema would go to Papua New Guinea and work. And then people from Papua New Guinea would come to Ikema too and visit, so it'd be a back and forth kind of thing.
So have you been back to?
I have, yeah. The last time was not this past November, but last November. When I was growing up, we would oftentimes go every few years to go see everyone, because my mom is the only one that's really ever left Okinawa. Everybody else still lives, whether it's in Naha or Miyako. I do have one aunt who lives in mainland Japan, and that's pretty recent.
Yeah, so you're a little bit of a different diaspora person because you're second generation. Yeah,
Yeah, totally. I am, but I also feel so, when I was growing up, I grew up in Kansas. I live in Colorado now, and so I grew up in Kansas where there's no other Okinawan kids our age, growing up. It was just my sister and I. And so it's not like the community that you have in Hawaii or California. I feel since pandemic times, I feel so lucky to now connect with so many diaspora, whether, second generation and beyond. I feel so, so grateful to be able to connect with people all over, the United States and the world now, because yeah, it's just amazing. I feel like that part was really lacking when I was growing up, that connection. And now I have so many other Okinawan friends, Shimanchu friends all over, and my heart feels so much fuller now, and it feels complete.
So when did that, you said during the pandemic, so prior to the pandemic, how connected were you to, I guess, your Okinawan background?
Honestly, it was probably just, me and my mom and sister. I'd ask my mom all these questions. Sometimes I would email, I would email my family back and forth, but it's not a super strong connection, I'd say. It's kind of difficult because I don't speak fluent Japanese, and I didn't have, other Okinawan or Shimanchu friends growing up. So I would actually look up other Okinawan young people around my age, and I would find people like who were going to university. I actually found, gosh, and I'm probably going to forget her name. Oh, anyway, I emailed her probably in 2018, 2017. And I was like, hey, do you have any like resources about other Okinawans, or like, how can I meet other Okinawan people, or like any books, things that I could just, dive deep on. And she was so helpful and so amazing. Gosh, I wish I could remember her name right now. I'll probably remember later tonight, but she was so helpful. She like sent me all these things. And then I had emailed her like probably during like 2020, 2021. And I asked the same question, just like, hey, like do you have anything else that you could maybe like recommend? And she was like, oh, there's this new podcast, the Shwanshu podcast. You should have a listen. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is like exactly what I was looking for. It was like so awesome. And at that same time too, around that same time, I had started NINAZUMA Pottery. So it was cool to, just connect, one with fellow Okinawan people our age, and then to also like have, I like had started doing NINAZUMA Pottery and thinking about like, oh, like how can I connect more with my art and craft with my Okinawan background and my culture. I was trying to figure out a way to like celebrate that in combination. So yeah, I don't know.
Which Shimanshu podcast? Which one is that?
It's the Ichariba Chode
Oh, okay.
podcast.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And yeah, I had met one other person probably in middle school, my age, who is half Okinawan, but that was kind of it. And so technically my first like person who I like attribute like my like first Shimanshu friend I think about is Melia, who does hand poke tattoos in Salida, Colorado. Yeah, she does she did a lot of my tattoos that I have and my hajichi. I have one hajichi from her. But yeah, ever since I've met Melly, I've met lots of other folks too. So it's been great.
So what did your mom tell you growing up? I mean, did she tell you, yeah, you're Okinawan, you're not Japanese? Or what did she say?
Yeah, definitely. She would identify like how different Okinawa was from Japan, and she would tell me how, cruel the war was and how cruel Japan was during that time, and how, Okinawans really suffered in a war that they had no choice, that was on their land. But yeah, she would also tell me, there's Japanese language, and then there's, Okinawan language. And she herself can't speak like Ikima language, and she'll call it Ikima dialect, but she can hear it and understand. And she has a kind of a story too, where when she remembers when she was like, 5 or, super young, she remembers in school that if they spoke Ikima language in school, she would get the red placard card necklace. Yeah, because her parents, of course, and everybody, all the elders would speak Ikima language. My great aunts who still live, my grandma's sisters, they're still around, and they'll speak Ikima language to each other. But my mom and her siblings, they can semi-understand, but they can't speak Ikima language, probably because of the being forced to speak Japanese in school.
Wow. Yeah, that's Yeah, it's kind of sad that your mom still remembers that they had to wear
I
that jacket.
know.
I know.
Yeah, right? Yeah. I'm sure it's like a core memory for her too, like how, being disciplined and you're like, what am I doing wrong? Like my mom and dad speak this language. It's crazy.
So how about in Colorado now? I mean, aside from that person that does the hajichi, is there an Okinawan community or not really?
There's actually a Colorado Kinjinkai
Oh, there
here
is. Uh-huh.
in Colorado. Yeah. And actually they had their 50th anniversary. Was it last year? I think it was actually 2 summers ago. Gosh. And I went and a bunch of other Okinawans from other states came and it was amazing. There was probably over 100 people, maybe 200. And there was a lot of, dancing and food. And it was so fun. And it was really cool because I hadn't actually never gone to a Colorado Kinjinkai event. And so this was amazing to see in Colorado, landlocked Colorado, to see how many other Okinawans there are that actually live in the state.
Mm. So what was that like? Was there a lot of younger people, or was it primarily like 70 plus 70 plus people?
That's a great question. It was mostly 70 plus, and it was older people for sure. But there were definitely people, who are old, like, maybe around 40 and who had kids, who had younger kids who also came. People who are my age, it was probably, me and Mariko and Adrian, and there's only just a handful of, people in their 30s. Oh, and Gabe is a great human being. He lives in, I think, Denver, and he's around 20 or so. And yeah, he's a good connection, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a big problem. Even in Hilo, we have a small, I guess, club here in Hilo. But yeah, it's always a challenge, to get the families to participate, and even a bigger challenge to get the kids to participate. So
Yeah, I wonder why. Why is that?
I think people are busy, and they just have to figure out a way to make it fun, for the kids again. And
Yeah.
we haven't quite figured that out. So
Yeah. There's this generational gap of folks who are around our age who, yeah, I guess, work and life, and maybe you have more time as you get older to be part of this large community. I think it's super important. I wish that I wish I lived closer to the Kinjinkai events. I live in a very tiny town, and for me, it's about a 5-hour drive to go to Denver, where all the events are kind of held.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, so we're just trying to figure out what to do, to make it fun for the kids. You didn't, at least in Hawaii, when we were kids, they used to have these picnics. So at least on Oahu, where all the people from the same village would go to these picnics. And there are tons of kids. There are so many kids that would participate in these picnics. There would be races and games and things like that. So yeah,
that sounds really fun. Like, yeah. I could go,
Do you know Tori? I can't remember.
Yeah.
So I don't know how we can. Oh, I think I sent her pictures of my grandma and grandpa, and we figured out that she has relatives from the same city,
Cool.
So she connected me with that club on Oahu, and I guess they still do those picnics. So
oh, cool! That's awesome.
Yeah, so hopefully we can go and participate sometime.
Would that be a plane ride for you then, or?
It's about 50 minutes by plane. It's not too bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Cool. Yeah. Oh, that's exciting though, to find that connection. And yeah, I love that. We're so spread out, and so, we're so spread out, and it's so exciting to find the connection so close.
Yeah. So what city in Colorado are you in?
I live in a tiny town called Ouray. It's in the southwest corner of the state. There's about 1,000 people that live in Ouray. It's famous for ice climbing. Yeah.
Okay, maybe that's where I've heard about Ouray. Okay,
Yeah.
that's spelled Ouray, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were in Boulder maybe a
Oh,
couple years ago.
nice. What did
And
you think? Was that your first time in Colorado?
that was my first time in Colorado. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
It was during the winter, and it was probably like, I don't know, it was like -10 or something
Oh
crazy.
my gosh, yeah. Coming from Hawaii, it's like, oh, where's my puffy jacket?
Yeah, but it was I enjoyed Boulder, and I don't know, do you know Boulder kind of?
I do. It's a big city. Yeah, it's
Uh,
a very big city. It's very different.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We wanted to see I don't know if you know Gregory Allen Isaacs.
Yeah, I've
Oh, you
seen
know
him
him?
too. Yeah.
Yeah, he was going to perform but we couldn't get tickets. He was performing at this
Oh,
place. I think it was called the Gold Inn or something, or Gold Mill Inn or something like that.
oh, wow, cool.
But this really small, really intimate venue. But we just missed out on the tickets because that space
Dang.
is so small. Yeah, so that
Oh,
was
shoot, I'm so sorry.
unfortunate.
Was that your whole purpose in going to Boulder? Was to
No, that was just a total coincidence.
Oh,
You
thank
know,
gosh. Okay, yeah.
total
That's so
coincidence.
funny.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I'm so disappointed. Uh,
Well, next time he comes to Colorado, I'll meet you. Yeah.
yeah. No, I did see him. We did happen to
Oh, you
see
did?
him.
Oh, good.
We saw him. Where did we see him? Is it Vermont? No,
What?
I think it was Vermont. Wait, yeah, I
Wow,
mean,
fun. That's a big trip. Jeez.
yeah. So we did see him, but yeah, that venue. If he, I think he always plays there. You know, if you haven't been to that restaurant performance place, it's really a nice
Cool.
place. Yeah,
Oh man, I'll keep that in mind next time. I've never been to Vermont, but it's definitely on the list.
yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Well, let's talk about Rick Rubin, because like you had that
Oh yeah.
quote, you know, in your email. It said, "If you start from the position that there is no right or wrong, no good or bad, and creativity is just free play with no rules, it's easier to submerge yourself joyfully in the process of making things." Yeah, I thought that was such a cool quote. I mean, why did you pick that quote, and I guess how does that inform like your pottery?
Yeah, I feel like, as I've, gotten older, I feel like you can't take life so serious. Life is so precious. And if you can add a little bit of fun, it'll make life way easier and way more enjoyable. And so that quote really resonated with me when I read that. And gosh, when I can remember as a, teenager or, in my early 20s, putting so much emphasis on being this person or like, being like the best at something, and that's just a lot of high pressure. And my day job is a public health nurse. And so that's a lot of, being a nurse in general is pretty stressful. My job isn't stressful as other nursing jobs, but if you can add a little bit of like, creativity in your life or fun in like outdoor hobbies, I think that makes just life so much more, memorable and, amazing and awesome. And everything that you see in the world has just a glow to it. That's how I kind of like view everything, I guess. What was I going to say too? Oh yeah. When I was going through nursing school, like in 2017, that's when I started doing pottery. And it was a great balance between using, this creative side of my brain and like this like high education level, like using the left, the balance between left and right side of the brain. It was so it was so needed to have pottery as a creative outlet. And so I oftentimes, when I read that quote again and again, I think about that time period where, nursing was such a serious part of my life, but then having this juxtaposition of like being creative and having fun and letting go was really important. And even now too, when I'm on the pottery wheel, I super care about everything I make, but if I'm not in the mood or if I'm not having fun, then I will step back and I will go back in another day and, have a little reset. But yeah, I don't want to take, my creativity super serious. It makes it so much more stressful.
That's good. So pottery is still fun. No pressure.
Yeah, there's definitely, like when I'm on the wheel, for sure, there's no pressure. There's the pressure of having a functioning business and paying, studio rent. But again, if, there's a balance between like, oh, if I'm stressing out too much on, paying rent and like making things to pay rent, then that's no fun. I have to be able to make things because it's fun. And then in return, I'll be able to pay rent or whatever.
Yeah. So what did you think about that book? I mean,
I love that book, and I am slowly reading it because I want to savor it. So I haven't actually finished. I probably started that book 2 years ago, and I am slowly like enjoying reading each line and like savoring each chapter. My good friend Emily, she actually gifted me this book, and ever since she, gifted this to me, I've gifted this book to other people too, because it's just so yeah, it's just very, I don't know, genuine and awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell. I mean, you can kind of see that in the music, that he's produced. Yeah, especially I thought with like his Johnny Cash, the last albums that Johnny Cash did. I mean, he kind of just like stepped back and just said like, okay, you go be you and just do it, and that that sound was just so pure.
Totally, it's not forced. It's like very much. Yeah, it's you just let it flow. I think that's so important.
Yeah. So do you have like a meditative practice? Because I mean, when I read his book, it felt, well, I didn't finish his book either. I'm still working on his book.
Yeah.
But the parts that I did read, it felt very meditative. Almost the first person I thought of was this guy called Eckhart Tolle. Have you read?
Oh yeah. I haven't read his books. I have his books, like a few of them that are on the shelf to read. But tell me what you were going to say about Eckhart Tolle.
Yeah, it's just super similar, I guess. I guess maybe the difference was Tolle seemed to think like if you get out of the way, then you'll suffer less. Maybe,
Yeah, right. There's that quote. You're the only person, that's stopping yourself, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But they had that similar kind of vibe, I guess. Between them.
Very grounding and very meditative and very much makes you think about, just life as a whole and what we're doing here.
So do you have a meditative practice, or is pottery your meditation?
I do have, when I'm in the flow, I do have a meditative practice that I do. I sit for 10 minutes or however long. It has been totally disrupted with this construction project though, so I haven't found that groove again. And so I would say too, like I do have that in my, routine. But pottery, like going into the pottery studio, whether I'm on the wheel or whether I'm cleaning the studio or hand building, just being in this studio space is so nourishing. I love it so much, and brings me so much joy. And it's hard to be sad in there. It's such a great space to, let go and only just focus on what I'm making, or even like cleaning the space. I honor that too, because it's a way to like cleanse the space and make the space homey. And it's, yeah, even in cleaning the space, it's just so fun and enjoyable. Does that make sense? I don't know. Yeah.
No, yeah, I think there's ceremony, yeah, in that whole process. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
can see
It
that.
is
Yeah.
for sure. It's so like, you can't really think about anything else. Everything demands like your presence in that moment, whether you're on the wheel or whether you're, mopping the floor or something. Everything's got like a rhythm to it, and knowing that you're in the space to make something with your hands, and like have somebody else like have that piece and enjoy it themselves brings me like so much joy. It's like, yeah, it's just so fun. And there's no way to think about, for me at least, in there's no way to think of, no room to think about anything else. I mentioned a little bit earlier, if I'm having an off day, if I can't get something out of my head, whether that's like work or life in general, if it's stuck in my head, and you can totally see it when you're in the studio making or cleaning, you're like, gosh, why, like, things I'm making feel, have this sense of like sadness or anger to them. Like I can't make things that hold this memory to them, or like I can't, these pieces have like this memory of like how you hold them and how you create them. And so to me, it's super important to be in the mental space too, while in the studio, of being in the right, mindset and flow. And, yeah, I don't know if that makes sense or not.
No, it totally does. Yeah. Yeah, I never really thought about pottery because I've never done pottery. Maybe I've touched clay a couple times, But I was just thinking about that, how, clay is basically from the earth, right? And
Yeah.
and in Hawaii we have a saying that we say malama ta'aina, so it means take care of the earth. And
Oh,
you're basically just working with the earth, right? When you do your pottery.
yeah, absolutely.
So,
It's very grounding.
mhm. So what is your connection? What is your connection to nature and the earth? And I guess how does that inform your pottery also?
Mm, that's a great question. Everything I love is so nature centered. I live in Colorado because I love, being outside and hiking and, doing all these outdoor activities. I love gardening. It's just way to be, grounded and centered. There's like, I don't know how to explain it. Ever since I was a child, I've always loved Mother Nature and taking care of her, and being, in the depths of, the forest or in the ocean. It's just, yeah, it's just very calming and just part of who we are as humans, right? We come from the earth, where we only have the earth. So it's so important for us to take care of her. Yeah. And I feel like doing our part here on, in our limited time in the grand scheme of things is incredibly, yeah, it's incredibly important to take care of her. Yeah. And so when I, make pottery, I always think about too the mountains I live in, how lucky am I to live here in such a beautiful place. And yeah, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's just certain certain areas. I mean, is there any areas in Colorado that just like, I don't know, that are more special for you? You know, at least for me, like probably like the redwoods is probably one of my most favorite places. Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's just like that whole forest bathing concept, I guess. Yeah,
Yeah,
but I feel that when
totally.
when I'm in the redwoods, you know. Yeah. So how
Yeah.
about
Oh,
Colorado?
yeah. Ouray, the town that I live in, is very outdoor centered. There's hikes right out the door. Like you could start in downtown Ouray and just go on a hike in the mountains within minutes. And it's so hard to just choose one favorite place because if you look at pictures of Ouray, it's just so magnificently beautiful here. But honestly, I find beauty in all the places I go to around here. It's just there's a little bit of desert here too. And then if you go a little bit higher up, there's high alpine, lakes and flowers that you can see. But honestly, one of my favorite places to go is just my backyard. We're lucky enough to live on 10 acres of land. And so we have this little trail system that's just behind me. And I have I lugged a pallet up the hill, and that's my nice, sitting meditative spot. And it overlooks the mountains, and it's in a forest with some juniper trees. And I will take off my shoes, and I'll just dig my feet in the dirt, and it's really nice. Yeah. There's lots of beautiful places if you just, yeah, if you just open your eyes, everywhere is beautiful. Even growing up in Kansas, like the tall grass prairie was one of my favorite places, growing up, like going to Kanza Prairie Ecological Center, which has a bunch of trails. That was my, go-to after school or on the weekends. I would just go over there because I didn't want to be stuck inside.
So is your mother still in Kansas?
Yeah, she is. Yep.
Oh,
She's
okay.
still in Kansas, and so is my dad. They're still together. Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, I grew up there ever since I was, 5 to 18. And then once I graduated high school, I moved to Colorado.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I wanted to thank you for those cups, doing the cups. I mean, that's essentially how we met, right? You know, through the work that you did for my
Yeah.
cups. No, I'm just so happy,
It was my
how they turned
honor to
out. You
do
know,
those
we start
cups.
Yeah, I mean, we started with the umui cups, and then we had my ancestral names and everything. But I never really thought about. I mean, I thought it would be just really nice to use the cups during Sōgwachi, Okinawan New Year's, just to honor my ancestors. But I think, when I thought about it, especially when I was putting together, I guess, this outline for our podcast, just how meaningful it was too, just to have their names, on the clay, and kind of
Yeah.
giving, especially the Miyashiro name, Nagushiku, my true name, giving it a place giving it a place and a space on the earth again, Yeah, I just thought that was really nice.
Yeah, totally. I think that's so important too. Yeah, we don't want to forget our
Mm-hmm.
ancestors. I think that's,
Mm-hmm.
ingraining them in a cup or saying their name daily or, mentioning their names to your friends. I think that keeps their legacy alive, right?
I mean, did your mom do anything, I guess, for Okinawa New Year's, or did she have any traditions that
Oh,
she passed on to you?
gosh. No. We would make Okinawa soba sometimes, and they would
Mm-hmm.
be over, Gregorian New Year, but we didn't celebrate Sōgwachi or Lunar New Year, or really the only holiday I remember my mom mentioning is like Hadi, the dragon boat races.
Oh yeah.
That's
Uh-huh.
kind of really it. Yeah, yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah. We have in Hilo we had our Hari race this last year.
What? That's so
The
cool.
boats, yeah, they used to do it like every 2 years, but I guess the boats were just sitting down at the park for like 9 years.
Oh
So
no.
yeah.
Shoot.
So when we when we got the boats, there was a crew that like I helped sand and things like that, but I wasn't really involved in
Cool.
like the true finishing of the boat. But
Mm,
yeah, they really made it nice again, and
that's
we could
cool.
yeah. So we
That's a
could
great
it was a whole big
revitalization
thing,
project.
yeah, yeah. And it was nice to just work with, the Hawaiian community here too, just to
Mm.
awaken the sabani again and put it back into the water. Just asking
Oh,
asking
cool.
permission if that's okay.
Mm.
Yeah, it was a really nice event. Yeah, you folks should come if your mom likes hottie. Then we
Yeah,
might do it next year.
that sounds
Yeah, I
amazing.
don't know. Hmm. Hmm.
Very cool. Did you, what did you call the boat? Sobari? Or,
Sabani,
I mean, I probably would,
Sabani.
Sabani.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. It's just the
Oh, so
Okinawan fishing
cool.
boat. Uh-huh.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. I bet that was so fun to be part of, even having maybe like a little part, I bet that was very enjoyable. And, having community around that huge project is
Hmm. Yeah,
really cool.
yeah. It was really last minute, so we didn't have time to. It would have been nice to involve more of the wider Okinawan community, because I think in the
Mm,
past, even
mm.
teams from the continent would come down to participate.
Wow, that's so
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, maybe in the future, if we plan better, maybe we can get more teams from all over the continent and maybe the world,
Oh,
to come down just to participate. Yeah.
gosh, I would love to go. Let me know. That would be so fun.
Yeah. Yeah, you can put together your Colorado Okinawan team to
Yeah.
participate.
We'll have to practice on a lake or something.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's talk about NINAZUMA. So maybe you can explain to people, I guess, how you came up with that name, and I guess what was the goal for you when you started NINAZUMA.
Yeah, let's see. So I'll explain the name. Lots of people have lots of questions whenever they're like, whenever I do lessons or I meet somebody. But Nina is my middle name, and my mom's oldest sister, her name is Manami. So the Na in Nina is part of my name. And then my little sister, my younger sister, her middle name is Risako. And so my mom's second oldest sister her name is Richiko. And so the Ri is borrowed from her name. So in that way, my mom kind of honored her older sisters by borrowing kanji from their names and putting it into our middle names. And then Zuma is a Ikima word for island. And so when I asked for a lot of help from my mom to come up with a pottery business name, and because I wanted to honor our heritage, my ancestral roots in Okinawa, and I also wanted to, honor the place that I live in because I love, the mountains and Ouray so much. So I had like a list that my mom and I had created of like all these ikima and miyako words, and they were all nature oriented. And island stuck with me, Zuma, because, Ikima is such a small island. That's one. And then two, when I think of mountains, sometimes, especially in a small community like the one I live in currently, I think of these places kind of like an island as well, whether that's, it's being in isolation, having, what's the word for it? Biogeography, right? The biogeography is a little bit different in high elevations. So mountaintops, I have gone to college I have a wildlife biology degree as well. And I learned a lot about, island biogeography and how mountains can be kind of very similar to island animals in the way that they're like, they're isolated on these high mountaintops or in these regions where there's like high alpine and everything like that. Anyway, I'm going on a huge tangent, but the idea of an island stuck with me. And so that's why I chose Zuma. And I thought, NINAZUMA sounds so good together. And so in that way, I honored Ikema language, and also, having a family name in there was important to me.
So is Ikema language, is it similar to Miyako language, or is it completely different?
I don't know like the full extent of the answer to that, but I know it is different. There's different sounds. I'm sure that it's similar enough, but I know different sounds make it so that, Ikema language is very distinct from Miyako language. And I can't remember right now. It might be like a Z sound, or maybe like a J sound. I can't quite remember. So I'm so sorry.
That's okay. And would you call your pottery, so Okinawan pottery, from what I've read, is called yachimun. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yep. And
would you call your pottery yachimun?
Oh no, I wouldn't. Mine.
No.
Yeah, I feel like, yachimun is definitely made in Okinawa. It has a, huge history, 400-year history in Okinawa. It's done there's lots of ways to do pottery. There's lots of ways to fire pottery. And in Yachimun, they use noborigamas, the climbing kilns. And I just use, I use an electric kiln.
What kind of kiln did you say? What did you say?
Noborigama.
Yeah, what is noborigama?
It means climbing kiln. So climbing kiln is built on a hillside. And so if you look at pictures in Okinawa, a climbing kiln, you'll oftentimes see like a hillside, and then this like brick.
I see. Yeah.
Like a brick structure being built on the hillside, and it's long and skinny, and they start the fire at the lower end of the opening of this basically tunnel, and that's how they fire pottery. They'll stack the pottery, from end to front, and do a huge load of firing of pieces. Yeah. It's so interesting. Yeah. I highly recommend looking up. It's like a very cool structure. And there's like different, those are also, found, or like different kind of structures are found in mainland Japan too, in China. So yeah.
Is there anything unique about the Okinawan kiln?
Gosh, good question. I think it's unique because it's really cool to have like a wood-fired, wood burning kiln, and it's this really long tunnel, and it's a cool way to fire your pieces in a stacked kind of fashion. Whereas like in comparison to like a electric kiln, or maybe even a gas kiln that you would find here in like the States, it seems more, in comparison, it's like the electric kiln is much easier. Whereas like the noborigama in Okinawa, when they're, doing yachimun pottery, they're like, I feel like it's more a village effort, a community effort, and like stacking everything correctly and making sure that there's enough airflow to make sure that every piece gets fired in like the same consistent matter. Yeah.
Yeah. We went to visit, when I went to Okinawa the last time, we went to visit a pottery studio, and I saw the kiln.
Yeah.
I don't think they showed us like how they stack the pieces in the kiln and stuff. I just remember, like you said, it was a long thing. And
cool. Do you remember if you went to like Yomitan, or if you were in Shibuya, in Naha?
It wasn't Naha. It was more north. I think it was
Yomitan Village.
Maybe Yomitan. I don't know. Yeah, maybe it was more towards the aquarium area.
Oh yeah. Yep. That's exactly, that's Yomitan. Oh, okay. Cool. Because there's like many pottery studios there.
Okay.
They do have like and I've only been there once, but they do have like a noborigama. I'm not sure if it's still functioning, but they do have a functioning one somewhere around there, and I don't know where it is, but
Yeah. Yeah, that studio was definitely, they still do their, he had all the wood and everything all stacked up,
Oh,
so
cool,
yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really fun.
Mhm.
Yeah, so like before the war, they did all the pottery in Shibuya, right? Which is like in Naha. That's where like basically all of the pottery was made. And then after the war, they moved the pottery making things to Yomitan. And if you go to Shibuya, you can see like a decommissioned Noborigama on that street. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been to Suboya.
Yeah.
Maybe next time I go to Naha.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's really cool. They have a museum at the beginning, and there's like, pottery shards and pottery pieces all stuck, in the like the road, like on the ground or on the retaining walls. It's super cute in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I went with Ukwan Shin, so our tour was very educational, I guess, and cultural.
I bet that's awesome. And I bet you guys learned so much and did so many like things cram packed into a short period of time.
It was pretty cram packed. Yeah, but I did get to ditch the tour for a little bit, and I just said I wanted to see nature too. We didn't see any, like, so I was like, so when we went to the north, I wanted to see the forest in the north, so I said, okay, well, can I just like leave for a little bit, and I'm just gonna like. So I met a university professor because I was interested in Okinawan plants, so yeah, so she took me basically in the mountains, and we went to look,
cool.
we went to look at Okinawan plants, and
in Yanbaru, like the super north. Wow,
in Yanbaru,
cool.
in Yanbaru, yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see the bird by chance? The Okinawan rail?
No.
Do you know that cute bird? Oh my gosh.
No.
Oh yeah. It's like this little tiny flightless bird. It's like brown, but it's got stripes on its belly, and it has orange feet. Oh gosh. Yeah. That's where they live. But
No, I didn't see that.
Kind of rare.
Yeah, I didn't see that bird, and I didn't see any snake. What is the snake called again?
Oh yeah, habu snake.
Yeah, I didn't see any habu.
Thank gosh, right?
Yeah.
So cool that you got to go to Yanbaru.
Yeah, I was super happy. I got to check out that region. Others, I would never have got to see it, so.
Yeah. Did you drive by yourself up there, like take a rental car? Our
whole tour went up to that area, but they went, I don't know where they went. They went to the banana fiber thing. Yeah. So I skipped out on that, and I just went to Yanbaru instead.
That's awesome. That's super cool. Oh, I love that. Yeah, I would love to go to Yanbaru someday. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the next I want to go to that island. I think that island's more south. Where they have all the endangered animals.
No, I don't know. Tell me.
Yeah, they have all these endemic animals and a lot of endemic plants on this island. I can't remember what it's called, but
is it like the southernmost island of Okinawa, or Ishigaki? It's not Ishigaki.
No, not Ishigaki. I think it's between Ishigaki and Uchina, somewhere around there. But yeah.
Field trip.
I know, that's the next spot.
Oh, awesome. Cool. Yeah, I'm always scheming ways to get back to Okinawa.
Yeah, I mean, I have to take the kids sometime and just have to figure out a way to make it like, cultural learning with some fun thrown in.
Right. Yeah. Cultural learning with some fun sprinkled in. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Have they ever gone?
No.
Your kiddos? Oh wow, cool. Oh, they'll be so excited for the day.
Yeah. I don't know. We're thinking maybe the Taikai, but I don't know if I want to take them to the Taikai, because I don't know. I've heard good and bad things about it, so So I don't know if we want to do that or not, but maybe. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's a little hectic, but it would be a cool event,
Mm-hmm.
memorable event to take them to. Yeah. I have plans to go with my family next year to Taikai.
Yeah. Oh,
So
yes. Next year. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess just from what I've heard, it's just, I know it's like a big event and everything, but I think just from what I've heard, some people were just disappointed that it just wasn't more of a, I don't know, more of a celebration of like, more of a celebration and reclamation of Okinawan language and culture, you know?
Oh, interesting. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I think I do remember that a little
Mhm.
bit. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Um,
so I don't know, maybe. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Hopefully, maybe with some, people's input after
mhm,
last times.
mhm,
Hopefully, they can maybe modify it or honor those things a little bit more for next year.
mhm, mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I guess, you know, talking about Ninazuma again, did you always have the vision, I guess, that your work was going to be, I guess, Okinawan culture based? I mean, what did you always have the vision that you were going to put language on the cups and things like that?
Yeah, one of one of the first things I made when I started the business was cups that had the Ichariba Chore phrase on there, and that was very important to me to honor that. And even it was always the idea of having nature and then also honoring nature and honoring my heritage. So when I first made pottery, I was putting mountains on mugs and cups and things like that, and then I've always known of the phrase "Ichari Bachode."
Did you
I
hear that from your mom?
I remember hearing it from my mom, and also like kind of seeing it when I was like a teenager or preteen visiting Okinawa. I remember seeing it, and I remember also like my aunties saying like, "This language is different from Japanese language. Do not mix this up. This is totally Okinawan." So yeah, and it was, when I started NINAZUMA Pottery and then writing Ichariba Chore on the cups, I didn't know about the Ichariba Chore podcast. And it was a reach, like putting those on mugs was kind of a reach to find connection. And lo and behold, like this, it's so, auspicious, or, it's so, I don't know, what's the word, like so amazing to find the connection between writing this on this cup and then finding the connection, not maybe like a month, not even later, it's like ask and you shall receive. You put out into the world what you kind of are asking for, or what your soul is kind of like needing. And that's exactly kind of what happened. And it was like, oh my gosh, it's happening, it is so awesome.
So maybe can you talk about the I guess the I don't know what you call it in Okinawan, but I guess the Okinawan sayings that you put on the cups.
Yeah, I don't know what you would call them either, proverbs
Yeah,
or
proverbs.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So Ichariba Chode
Mhm.
means when we meet, we become family, which is so lovely because Okinawan people are so generous and so inviting. Yeah, and that's such an Okinawan like ideal for sure. And then another proverb I started writing recently is Makuto Soge Nankuru Naisa. And you'll see mostly online or, out in the world, the Nankuru Naisa
Yeah.
part,
Hmm.
right? But it leaves out the beginning part. And that's something that my mom was like, oh, don't leave, the Nankuru Naisa part is cool, but there is a front end to that proverb. So it's important to, say the whole thing. And that one means if you do the right thing, everything will turn out okay. If you say nankuru naisa, I think it's everything will be okay, or everything will be all right kind of saying. But it's important. The front part of that sentence is you got to do the right thing first. Yeah.
What, did you have any other phrases on other cups?
Those are the two main ones that I have on the cups right now. I do also draw hajichi on mugs and cups too. And I'll draw hajichi symbol, like the arrow, the finger spears on the mugs. And each island has their own special finger spear. And so I'll do like a Naha one or like a, Miyako one. So yeah, I think that makes it a little bit more personalized, and especially for people who might not want to get tattoos on their hands, I think that's a nice way to still kind of have hajichi. Yeah.
So you're saying that your friend in Colorado where did she learn her hajichi?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. She's an amazing artist, and I'm not entirely sure when she started tattooing. I'm sure it's been, many moons. And Melia is her name, left hand poke. I think she grew up in Okinawa, and she's also second generation. And it sounds like she's lived a lot of places, but has landed in Salida to be close to her dad. But yeah. She'll see lots of people from all over the States who come to visit her. I think people sometimes will fly in and see her too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So what other projects, or what are you planning, I guess, for your pottery business? Is there any other big projects in the work, or what are you thinking?
Oh gosh. Yeah, that is a great question. I'm currently working on making inventory to bring to the OAA craft fair, the Okinawa Association of America craft fair that's at the end of April this year. So I'm making a lot of pottery right now in preparation for that event. And that's really fun. I've gone the last 2 years, and it's a really amazing way to meet people and connect with people. And it's so fun now because I've met so many people just online, and meeting them in person is so surreal. And then also like, oh my gosh, we've been friends for so long, and now we're actually meeting in real life. Like, I've known you for years, like we're friends. This is so cool.
So where is that event?
It is in, oh gosh, where? Gardena. Yeah.
Indoors or outdoors, or?
It's outdoors at the end of April. And yeah, the weather's been nice the past 2 years. So it's been outside. It's been so lovely. And there's a lot of other amazing vendors and people who sell plants or people who make things. There's a lot of like books and other things, like, what are those donuts called?
Andagi? I mean, Sata
Andagi, yeah. Sata andagi, yeah. Yeah. And they do a lot of preparation. The OAA members who live there do so much in preparation to get this event up and running, and it's so successful. And I'm so grateful for OAA. I know they're so far away, but yeah, they're such a great way to get connected with people.
Yeah, somebody told me we should participate in that also.
Yeah.
Usually, my nonprofit, we participate in the Honolulu Okinawan Festival, but I don't know. He'll be fun. Like, I'll take a vacation, I guess, to California.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, I agree with that. Come rent a tent and a booth and have your nonprofit presence there. There is another nonprofit. It's the Okinawa Initiatives. They have a tent there too, usually. So yeah.
are most of the vendors, I guess, all Okinawan themed, or like, yeah,
Yeah,
what is it
so it
like?
is. So it is Okinawan themed for sure, and you do have to sell products and things that are like have Okinawan flair to them.
Mhm.
So yeah, there's Jane who makes candy, and she makes really delicious candy, and gosh, she like makes what flavor, like what's a typical Okinawan flavor, like maybe like beni imo or something. Yeah, she makes like specific like Okinawan flavored candy for
Mm,
these events. And then there's people who sew with like the like bingata
mhm,
fabric, and they'll
mhm,
make bags and things like that. There's like an illustrator that comes and has different, like, whether it's like I think she has like cards. Yeah, there's a variety of like
mm,
Okinawan themed goods there. It's
mhm.
super fun. Yeah,
Cartagena, is that near LA?
it is. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. LA kind of just stresses me out, so I'm not sure
I
if I
know.
want to go to LA.
It is very stressful, but I will say Gardena's like quite nice,
Mm.
and it's outside LA, and it's good to be away from the hectic LA
The
central.
craziness.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, but
Okay.
I encourage you to come.
Hmm. Yeah, we thought about it. Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm
yeah.
not. I'm not sure when. So maybe the last question: if you're speaking to like the diaspora, or even speaking to people back in the motherland, I guess, what do you feel like Luchu needs, and how can people help our homeland?
Mm,
Reclaim ourselves. I guess. Yeah.
totally. Yeah, great question. Gosh, the over the past, and I'm sure it's been a lot longer than this, but over the past, 5 years of, connecting with diaspora and seeing all these revitalization efforts, whether that's in Hajichi and language, has been amazing to see. And it's so
Mhm.
awesome. And it was so strong, like all that was so strong within the past 5 years. My hope is that it continues and it grows and it doesn't get forgotten. So my hope, is of course encouraging the next generation and not forgetting and keeping events alive, whether that's the Hadi event that you have nearby you, or like connecting with your local Kinjinkai. And, those members, like we discussed earlier, those members are getting older, and they're the ones driving this thing. And what's going to happen when, the younger generations don't know how to run this amazing opportunity and community for the future? Does it just die away? So I hope
Mhm.
that, the younger generations can integrate more and make time and effort into keeping the Kinjinkais alive. And yeah, and I wish that my grandma and my grandpa were still alive now, so that I could ask them so many questions about like language and what it was like growing up, and asking my grandpa what his family was like. And so I would, of course, encourage people who still have their grandmas and grandpas to chat with them and write down stories or record stories. I know some, that older generation doesn't like talking about the war, but I think it's so important to remember and, honor the people that we lost and the family that we don't want to forget, and, like saying their names. And yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, why do you think, you said a lot of that community started during like the COVID period. How and why do you think that energy built during that time?
Yeah, people had a lot more time. Like, we
Yeah.
didn't have to go to, I mean, like, work, or like you like here in Ouray, we couldn't like go outside. I mean, like people did, of course, like you couldn't go risk your life, because if you were to get hurt, and having to go to the ER was like a whole whole thing. And so people had tons of time on their hand. And of course, I'm sure you remember, people took up bread making and, all these hobbies. And so I'm sure there was, everybody in our, diasporic community was on the same wavelength of being like, I need to find my identity and I want to celebrate who I am, and I need to find this connection. And that connection was found online when everybody was online trying to find community at the time, since we couldn't hang out in person. So yeah, I think that's how that sparked.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we don't need another pandemic.
Yeah, gosh, I hope not either. Gosh, I know. I'm afraid. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I know that people are much busier now these days in comparison, and things are getting expensive and crazy and scary and frustrating. And I hope that we can still make the time that's it's important to continue this work and this legacy and honor our ancestors. Yeah.
I always talk with Ukon Shin Kabudan about that. It's just like, yeah, because my kids go to one of the Hawaiian immersion schools down here, and we always talk about like they had their renaissance in the 70s, and it was just that spark of like language and the musicians at the time, and probably the whole civil rights thing that was going on at the time too. It was just that spark, and it just grew, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they had like so few speakers of the language at the time, and it's grown so much,
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, back in Okinawa, yeah, I mean, there's still lots of speakers, but they're all old, right? So like,
Right.
what's going to happen?
Totally. I will mention too, like, I don't know, like, I don't know what it's like in Okinawa, of course, but I would hope that, there's like some immersion going on in school, in the public school or something. But I know how it's government run, so I'm not super sure how successful that is. But yeah, another thing too, I don't know if this is anyway, my great aunts, my grandma's sisters who are still around, I'll ask them when I see them, like, I'll ask them for like, how do you say this in Ikema language? And they'll oftentimes be like, you don't want to learn that. You don't need to know that. You know what I mean? So I would also like encourage, like older generations too, to be like we, like the younger generations want to know, and we're so curious, and we want to remember and continue like this Okinawan tradition and passing it along too. So we continue having our culture and not having, this monoculture of whatever. So yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. Just people need to take the opportunity to speak to the elders, right? And I really regret that too, not speaking with my grandma and grandpa about what they experienced. And I had two grandpas that could speak Uchinaguchi, but I never heard them speak anything. They never spoke.
Wow.
I never heard them speak anything.
Dang, shoot. Yeah, it's important now. So.
Well, yeah, is there anything else you want to add, or no? Thank you for talking. I appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, thank you, Grant. This has been so awesome to like see you and chat with you, and like I feel so honored that you even asked me to be like on your podcast. I don't know why, but
no, it's perfect timing for Sōgwachi, and I just appreciate the cups. It's meaningful. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, totally. Of course. I'm super grateful. Thank you so much.
If you loved today's episode, we'd greatly appreciate your support. Please consider making a small donation at donorbox.org/Loochoo Nation. Your contribution helps us continue creating great content for you. Ipe Nife Debiru.